I never thought my family would turn on me the way they did. For years I had been the reliable older brother, always there to help my younger sibling Noah through his struggles. When I discovered he had been sleeping in his car after losing his apartment, I secretly arranged 3 months of prepaid rent as his Christmas gift. I thought I was saving him from homelessness with dignity. Instead, when he opened my envelope at our family gathering, he looked around and sneered, tries to compensate for the fact that he is not needed by this family. Everyone laughed except me. I simply took the envelope back, saying, "Useful to know." Before I tell you what happened next, let me know where you are watching from in the comments below, and hit subscribe if you have ever had your kindness thrown back in your face. I grew up in Oak Ridge, a small town in the Midwest where everyone knows your business and family reputation matters. Being the oldest of 3 siblings carried expectations I never questioned. My parents, both high school teachers, raised us with strong values but very different standards. While I was expected to excel, my younger brother Noah seemed to operate under a different set of rules. By 18, I had earned a scholarship to Stanford, becoming the first in our family to attend an elite university. Those 4 years of computer science studies led to a job at a promising Seattle tech startup. Through 80-hour work weeks and strategic career moves, I eventually became Chief Technology Officer at a successful software company. My salary now exceeded what my parents made in 5 years combined. Noah took a different path. 2 years younger than me, he dropped out of community college after 3 semesters, citing that formal education stifled his creativity. What followed was a decade of job-hopping barista, rideshare driver, retail, telemarketing, each lasting a few months before he quit or was fired. His resume read like a tour of every strip mall in our hometown. Our sister Emma, the youngest, fell somewhere in between. She completed nursing school and worked at the local hospital, married her college boyfriend, and settled just 20 minutes from our parents. She maintained the family peace, always the mediator between Noah and me. From childhood, our parents treated us differently. When I received straight, as it was expected, "Anderson has always been academic," they would say with a shrug. But when Noah passed with C's, they celebrated as if he had won a Nobel Prize. "School is just so hard for him," they explained, buying him video games as rewards for minimal effort. That pattern continued into adulthood. My career milestones were acknowledged with quick, congratulatory calls. Meanwhile, Noah, holding a job for 3 consecutive months, warranted family dinners and toast speeches about his perseverance. Despite the disparity, I continued to help Noah. When he mentioned interest in coding, I paid for an online course he never completed. When he wanted to try sales, I referred him to contacts, who later called me apologizing when he stopped showing up. 5 years ago, when he totaled his uninsured car, I bought him a reliable used Honda to ensure he could get to work. The dynamic was always the same. Noah would privately ask me for help. I would provide it. Then he would publicly minimize or mock my assistance. "Anderson thinks money solves everything," he would tell our parents when they noticed his new car. Or he just threw some cash at a computer course because he was tired of hearing me talk about my problems. This past November, I learned through Emma that Noah had lost his apartment after failing to pay rent for 3 months. He had been sleeping in the Honda. I bought him parking behind the restaurant where he washed dishes part-time. Most concerning was that he had told no one in the family about his situation, not even our parents, who would have immediately offered their spare room. "He is too proud to tell Mom and Dad," Emma explained during our monthly phone call. "He knows they will lecture him about responsibility." "Has he asked you for help?" I questioned. I offered our couch, but he refused. "Said he is figuring things out," she replied, the worry evident in her voice. "Winter is coming, Anderson. I am concerned about him sleeping in that car when temperatures drop below freezing." That night, I contacted a property management company in Oak Ridge. I explained the situation and asked about immediate availability for a 1-bedroom apartment. The rental agent found a modest unit in a decent neighborhood, not luxurious but clean and safe. The monthly rent was within Noah's theoretical budget if he worked full-time at his current job. I paid for 3 months, upfront, plus security deposit, arranging for the lease to start December 26th, the day after Christmas. The property manager agreed to hold the apartment with a refundable arrangement if things fell through. My plan was simple: Give Noah the gift of stability, a chance to reset, without the immediate pressure of homelessness. The 3 months would give him time to stabilize his finances while maintaining his independence. I carefully planned how to present this gift at our annual family Christmas gathering. I would give him a card explaining the apartment, the address that it was paid through March, and that the key would be waiting at the management office. No strings attached, no lectures about responsibility, just a fresh start from a brother who cared. What I did not anticipate was how deeply Noah resented not just my help, but my very existence within our family structure. December 25th arrived with heavy snow blanketing Oak Ridge, creating that picture-perfect Christmas setting straight from a holiday card. I had flown in from Seattle the previous evening, staying at a hotel rather than at my parents' house to avoid the inevitable tension that always seemed to develop when Noah and I shared space for too long. I arrived at my childhood home at exactly 4 in the afternoon, carrying a bag of carefully selected gifts. For my father, a rare first edition of his favorite author's debut novel. For my mother, a cashmere sweater and tickets to the Broadway touring show she had mentioned wanting to see. For Emma and her husband Dave, matching smartwatches they had been eyeing. And for Noah, the envelope containing information about the apartment wrapped in a simple card. Our family had always made a production of Christmas gift exchanges. Growing up with limited means, my parents compensated with ritual. We would gather in the living room, arrange presents under the tree, then take turns opening gifts, one at a time while everyone watched. The practice continued into adulthood, though it had taken on an uncomfortable competitive quality I could never quite put my finger on. The house smelled of pine and cinnamon when I entered, Christmas music playing softly from the speakers my father had installed decades ago. Emma and Dave were already there, helping in the kitchen, while their 2 children played with new toys in the corner. "Anderson is here," my mother announced, embracing me briefly, before returning to her cookie arrangement. My father nodded from his recliner, raising his eggnog in acknowledgement. "Where is Noah?" I asked, casually placing my gifts under the tree. "Running late as usual," Emma replied, rolling her eyes affectionately. "Said he needed to finish a shift at work." I noticed the slight tension in her voice, wondering if she was thinking about where he had been sleeping these past weeks. Had he told our parents yet? The lack of concerned whispers suggested not. Noah arrived 45 minutes later, bursting through the door with empty hands and excuses. "Sorry I am late. Work was crazy. Did not have time to wrap gifts. We'll make it up to everyone later." My mother rushed to hug him. "Do not worry about gifts, honey. Having you here is all that matters." I observed Noah carefully. His clothes were wrinkled, but clean hair, unwashed eyes, tired with dark circles beneath them. He had lost weight since I last saw him. Despite his smile and animated greeting to everyone, I could see the strain of his circumstances weighing on him. Dinner came first, the traditional ham with all the fixings. Noah ate ravenously, piling his plate twice while entertaining everyone with exaggerated stories about restaurant customers. Not once did he mention his living situation. After dinner and dessert, we gathered in the living room for the gift exchange. My parents sat on the couch. Emma and Dave took the love seat, while Noah and I were relegated to the dining chairs brought in for the occasion. The children sat on the floor, already surrounded by torn wrapping paper from their earlier presents. Oldest to youngest, as always, my father announced the same words he had used for 30 years of Christmases. My mother protested predictably. "Oh, let the kids go first," and just as predictably my father acquiesced. After the children had opened their remaining gifts with appropriate enthusiasm, the adult exchange began. I opened the practical gifts from my parents' dress socks and a gift card to an online bookstore. From Emma and Dave, a Seattle Seahawks scarf they knew I would never wear. Noah had indeed brought nothing. When it was Noah's turn, he received a check from our parents along with a new winter coat. "We noticed your old one was worn out," my mother explained, helping him try it on. The coat fit perfectly, and for a brief moment I saw genuine gratitude in his eyes. Emma and Dave gave him gift cards to grocery stores and gas stations, practical choices that made me wonder if they knew more about his situation than they had let on. Finally, it was my turn to give. I handed out the gifts to my parents and Emma's family, receiving the expected thanks. Then, taking a deep breath, I passed the envelope to Noah. "Merry Christmas," I said simply. He examined the envelope suspiciously before opening it. I watched his expression change as he read the card explaining the apartment, the address, the 3 months of paid rent. Confusion transformed into understanding, then something else, entirely. Something hard and bitter that I had not anticipated. Noah looked up, scanning the room before his eyes landed back on me. The silence stretched just long enough to become uncomfortable. "What is it, Noah?" my mother finally asked. He held up the card. "Anderson got me an apartment. 3 months paid rent." He paused, then added with a smirk, "Tries to compensate for the fact that he is not needed by this family." The room fell silent. I felt my chest tighten as if struck. Then my father chuckled uncertainly, followed by Emma's nervous laugh. Within seconds, the entire room was filled with laughter. Everyone except me. "Classic Anderson," my father said between chuckles. "Always trying to solve problems with his checkbook. Remember when he offered to pay for that kitchen renovation? Mom did not even want," Emma added, fueling the laughter. "Or when he tried to convince Dad to retire early because he could cover the difference." Noah continued, clearly enjoying the moment. I sat perfectly still, something crystallizing within me. This had been the dynamic all along, but never so nakedly displayed. My help was not merely unappreciated. It was resented, mocked, used as ammunition against me. Without a word, I stood and walked over to Noah. I reached down and took the envelope from his hand. "Useful to know," I said quietly, my voice somehow carrying over the diminishing laughter. The room grew silent again as I placed the envelope in my pocket and returned to my seat. An uncomfortable moment passed before my mother attempted to move things along. "Well, who wants coffee with dessert?" No one acknowledged what had just happened, proceeding with the gift exchange, as if everything was normal. But I was no longer present in the moment. My mind had shifted to clarity I had never experienced before. Years of family dynamics suddenly made perfect sense. I was not a brother or son to these people. I was a resource, an ATM, with legs valued for what I could provide, but resented for the very success that enabled my generosity. I excused myself quietly, citing a need for fresh air, and walked upstairs to my childhood bedroom, which remained preserved like a museum exhibit to my teenage years. Instead of returning downstairs, I began packing my overnight bag. My childhood bedroom looked exactly as it had when I left for college 15 years ago. Academic trophies lined the shelves, alongside dog-eared computer programming books. The walls still displayed the solar system poster my father had hung when I was 10. This room was a time capsule to a period when I believed that achievement would equal love. I methodically packed my belongings, not just the items I had brought for this visit, but also selecting a few childhood mementos I suddenly felt the need to preserve. The science fair medal from 8th grade, the photograph of my grandfather and me fishing the summer before he died, the first computer my parents had sacrificed to buy me when I was 14. My phone buzzed with a notification. It was an email from the property manager confirming the apartment arrangements for Noah. With 3 quick taps, I replied that circumstances had changed and requested cancellation, thankful for the refundable deposit clause. Next, I called my assistant in Seattle. "Janet, I need to return tonight instead of on the 27th. Can you find me any flight from Springfield to Seattle this evening?" While she worked on that task, I continued organizing my departure. My thoughts wandered through memories, each taking on new meaning in light of what had just happened. The time I graduated with honors, and my parents spent most of the dinner talking about Noah's struggle to find direction. The promotion I received 2 years ago that was acknowledged with a brief, "That is nice, dear," before conversation turned to Emma's children learning to swim. The pattern was crystal clear now. My mother found me 20 minutes later, her face a mixture of confusion and annoyance. "What are you doing up here? Everyone is having dessert." "I am leaving," I replied, simply closing my bag. "Leaving? Do not be ridiculous. It is Christmas." "I am not being ridiculous, Mom. I am being realistic. For the first time in my life, I am seeing things as they actually are." She sat on the edge of the bed, her holiday sweater adorned with reindeer that suddenly seemed absurdly cheerful. "If this is about Noah's joke, you know how he is. He did not mean anything by it. That is exactly the problem. You all think it was a joke. It was not a joke to me, Mom. It was a moment of honesty, probably the first genuine interaction our family has had in years. You are overreacting, she insisted, her voice rising slightly. No, I have been underreacting for decades. Noah has been sleeping in his car for weeks. Did you know that? Her sudden silence and widened eyes answered my question. He lost his apartment and has been homeless, but was too proud to tell you. I found out from Emma and tried to help him with dignity by giving him a fresh start, and his response with everyone's support was to mock me for it. He is struggling, Anderson. He always has. You have everything so easy. That sentence delivered with such casual confidence broke something in me. Easy. You think my life has been easy? I worked 80-hour weeks for years. I earned every promotion, every raise, every success. Nothing was handed to me. You always had natural talent, she countered. And you always had excuses for Noah. You still do. The door opened, and my father entered clearly, having overheard. What is going on up here? Everyone can hear you downstairs. Anderson is leaving, my mother explained, as if I were a misbehaving child. Over a little joke. My father's expression hardened. Son, you need to get over yourself. So Noah made a crack about your money. Big deal. You know he appreciates what you do for him. Does he? Because all evidence suggests the opposite. And frankly, so does all evidence about how this family views me. Emma appeared in the doorway next, her mediator instincts activated. Guys, can we all calm down? It is Christmas. Where is Noah? I asked, noticing his absence. Still downstairs. He thinks you are just cooling off, Emma replied. Well, he is wrong. I am leaving. For good this time. My proclamation was met with disbelief that quickly transformed into panic as I slung my bag over my shoulder and moved toward the door. What do you mean, for good? My mother asked, voice trembling. I mean, I am done being this family's financial safety net while simultaneously being resented for my success. I am done with the double standard where Noah gets celebrated for minimum effort while my achievements are treated as somehow unfair or unearned. That is not true, my father protested weakly. It is absolutely true, and today made it undeniably clear. I continued down the stairs, family trailing behind me. As I reached for my coat, Emma grabbed my arm. Anderson, please. You cannot just walk away from your family. What family, Emma? The one where I am valued for my checkbook, but resented for writing it. The one where Noah can publicly humiliate me for trying to keep him from freezing in his car this winter, and everyone laughs. That statement stopped. To them cold. My father looked to my mother. Is that true? Is Noah living in his car? Before anyone could answer, I continued toward the door. My father moved to block it. You are not leaving like this. We need to talk. We have had 30 years to talk. Nothing has changed. By now, the commotion had drawn Dave and the children from the living room, their faces concerned and confused. Noah remained conspicuously absent. Where are you even going? There are no flights on Christmas, my mother reasoned. Janet is arranging one as we speak. My phone buzzed on cue. That is probably her now. As I checked the message, confirming a flight from Springfield at 8:30, my family's protests grew more desperate. You cannot do this to us, my father said. Please listen to us, my mother pleaded, tears forming. Emma tried reason. Let us sit down and really talk this through. There has been a misunderstanding. When I moved toward the door again, my father made one final attempt to stop me. I will block your car with mine. Then I will call a car service, I replied with a calm that surprised even me. This is happening, Dad. I am done. As if summoned by the escalating drama, Noah finally appeared from the kitchen, a plate of pie in his hand. What is going on? Why is everyone shouting? Your brother is threatening to cut us all off because of your stupid joke, my mother explained. Noah looked at me with disbelief. Seriously, you are being this dramatic over one comment. Always have to be the center of attention, do you not? That was the final confirmation I needed. I do not want attention, Noah. I just wanted respect. Not gratitude, not worship, just basic respect for my efforts to help you. But clearly that is too much to ask. So you are going to punish the whole family because your feelings got hurt. Noah challenged, setting down his plate. This is not punishment. This is consequence. There is a difference, though I doubt you have ever had to learn it. I turned to the rest of the family. I am not cutting anyone off. I am simply removing myself from a dynamic that has become toxic. You can all contact me through my lawyer, if there is an actual emergency. Lawyer, my father sputtered. We are family. Family does not treat each other the way you have treated me. With that, I opened the front door, letting in a blast of cold air. The rideshare car I had summoned was already pulling into the driveway. Anderson, please. My mother's voice broke as she called out. Please listen to us. The entire family followed me onto the porch, a chorus of protests and pleas. Noah stood in the doorway, his expression shifting from defiance to uncertainty as he realized this was not a bluff. As I placed my bag in the car, I turned back one last time. Merry Christmas. I hope the apartment hunting goes well, Noah. The last thing I saw as the car pulled away was my family on the porch. Their faces a mixture of shock, anger, and the dawning realization of what they had lost. The Seattle skyline greeted me on December 26th as my flight touched down just after midnight. The city lights sparkled against the dark sky, a stark contrast to the small-town Christmas I had left behind. My apartment felt foreign after the emotional turbulence of the previous day, its modern minimalism suddenly cold rather than sophisticated. I placed my bag by the door and stood in the silence, half expecting to feel regret or doubt. Instead, I found a strange sense of peace, like putting down a heavy burden I had carried for decades without realizing its weight. My phone had been buzzing consistently since I left my parents' house. 37 missed calls, 62 text messages. Most from my mother and Emma, a handful from my father, none from Noah. I silenced the notifications and placed the phone on my kitchen counter face down. That first night alone should have been devastating. Holidays are meant to be spent with loved ones after all. Yet as I made a simple meal and opened a bottle of wine I had been saving for a special occasion, I realized this was in its way a celebration, not of the season, but of my own worth finally being recognized, if only by myself. The following days brought a barrage of communication attempts. Email, voicemail, even a handwritten letter from my mother delivered via priority mail. I read and listened to them all but responded to none. Each message followed a predictable pattern: initial anger, followed by guilt-inducing reminders of family loyalty, finally culminating in desperate pleas for reconciliation. On New Year's Eve, while most of Seattle celebrated with parties and fireworks, I sat with my therapist in an emergency session she had kindly agreed to schedule. Family dynamics are often so ingrained, we cannot see them clearly until something breaks the pattern. Dr. Harris explained as I recounted the Christmas disaster. What you are describing sounds like a classic role assignment. You were designated the responsible one, while your brother was the struggling one who needed protection and support. But why resent me for succeeding? I asked the question that had haunted me for years. Because your success threatens the family narrative. If you can succeed through hard work and determination, then your brother's struggles become a choice rather than an inevitability. That is much harder for parents to accept. Her words crystallized something I had felt but could never articulate. My achievement was not just unappreciated. It was actively inconvenient to the story my family had constructed about themselves. January brought focus on rebuilding my life around healthier relationships. I reconnected with friends I had neglected, often prioritizing family obligations over friendships. I joined a hiking group that explored the Pacific Northwest trails each weekend. I even began dating again, meeting interesting women who valued ambition rather than resenting it. Work became less all-consuming as I set boundaries on my time and energy. The world did not end when I declined weekend projects or delegated tasks I would have previously handled personally. My company continued to thrive, and so did I. Meanwhile, the communication from my family evolved. My mother's messages became less frequent, but more thoughtful, actually asking about my life rather than demanding my return to the fold. My father, never one for phone calls, sent a brief email acknowledging that perhaps they had taken my success for granted. The most surprising development came in late January, when Emma appeared at my door unannounced, having flown across the country without warning. I almost did not recognize her standing in my building's lobby, her normally impeccable appearance disheveled from travel. "You would not answer our calls," she explained when I asked why she had come, "and I needed to see you face to face." Over coffee in a nearby cafe, she provided updates I had not requested, but found myself wanting to hear. My parents were struggling with my absence, particularly during family gatherings that felt incomplete. Noah's situation had deteriorated further. Without my intervention, he had remained homeless until my parents finally learned the full truth and insisted he move home. "He is angry," Emma said, stirring her latte absently. "Says you abandoned him when he needed you most." "I offered him an apartment," I reminded her. "He threw it back in my face." "I know. We all know that now. He admitted everything after you left." She looked up, her eyes tired. "He said he was embarrassed that you knew about his situation when he had been hiding it from everyone else. His pride got hurt, so he lashed out. That does not excuse what happened," I said firmly. "No, it does not. None of us are asking for excuses anymore, Anderson. We are asking for another chance." I considered her words carefully. A chance to what? Return to the same dynamic, where I provide financial support but am resented for having money in the first place, where Noah can publicly humiliate me, and everyone laughs. A chance to build something different. She replied, "Mom and Dad have been seeing a family therapist. They are trying to understand how things got so broken." And Noah, Emma sighed. "Noah is Noah, but he is working full-time now consistently for the first time. And he has stopped asking Mom and Dad for money. I think seeing the consequences of his behavior has had an impact." I made no promises to Emma that day, but her visit opened a door I had firmly closed on Christmas. Over the following weeks, I allowed limited contact with my parents, short phone calls that remained civil if somewhat stilted. We established new boundaries. No discussions about money. No comparisons between Noah and me. No minimizing of my feelings. In February, Noah sent his first message since Christmas. A brief text reading only, "I was wrong. I am sorry. No excuses. No qualifications." 8 simple words that must have cost his pride dearly. I replied after 2 days of consideration, "I appreciate that. I hope you are doing well." By March, 3 months after the Christmas confrontation, I agreed to a family dinner during a business trip that would take me within driving distance of my hometown. We met at a neutral location, a restaurant none of us had visited before eliminating the power dynamics of the family home. The conversation was awkward initially, everyone carefully avoiding mention of the Christmas incident until my father finally addressed it directly. "We failed you," he said simply, his usual authoritative tone replaced by something humbler. "We celebrated Noah's small steps while taking your big achievements for granted. That was unfair." My mother added, "We thought you did not need the recognition, because success came more naturally to you. We were wrong. Everyone needs to be valued." Noah remained quiet through much of the meal, but when dessert arrived, he finally spoke directly to me. "The apartment thing. That would have helped a lot. I was an idiot to throw it back at you like that." "Yes, you were." I agreed, not unkindly. "Why did you?" He considered the question, something I had rarely seen him do. "Because accepting it meant admitting to everyone how badly I had failed, and because," he hesitated, "because part of me has always been jealous of how easily everything seems to come to you. It was never easy, Noah. You just never saw the work. I know that now. We did not solve everything in one dinner. Family healing takes more than a single conversation. But we established a new foundation, based on honesty rather than pretense. I set clear boundaries about what I would and would not do to help financially. I would provide guidance, connections, and mentoring, but no more blank checks or bailouts that enabled self-destructive patterns. Noah surprisingly responded well to the new paradigm. With consistent employment and a structured budget I helped him create, he secured his own apartment by April. My parents learned to acknowledge his struggles without rushing to solve them, allowing him the dignity of facing his own challenges. As for me, I discovered that true family connection is not measured in financial support or sacrifice, but in mutual respect and understanding. Walking away that Christmas day was not about abandonment, but about refusing to participate in a dynamic that diminished us all. Sometimes distance is necessary to gain perspective, and boundaries are required for healthy relationships to form. Have you ever had to step away from people who could not recognize your worth? I want to hear your stories in the comments below. If this journey resonated with you, please hit the subscribe button and like this video so others facing similar challenges can find it. Share with someone who might need permission to establish healthy boundaries with family. Thank you for listening to my story. And remember, sometimes the hardest conversations lead to the most meaningful connections, and walking away might be the first step toward building something authentic.